has been a while since we did any interviews in this channel. So it's New Year. I thought it's a good time to get started. And who better than Hamish Watson, our DevOps guru in this space, and my good friend, to kickstart it in this beautiful New Year, right? So today I have Hamish Watson, a data platform MVP and DevOps champ in this region, and I would like to talk to him about DevOps, AI, and Microsoft Fabric. Hamish, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, my very good friend, for this opportunity to not only do this session, but more importantly, catch up with you. It's been far too long, and I really do look forward to the time where we can see each other in person. G'day everyone, or kia ora, as I would say here in New Zealand. Kia ora is a form of greeting. Yeah, I'm Hamish Watson. As Nagaraj said, I'm data platform MVP, and yeah, I'm someone who's passionate about data, cloud, DevOps, and now I can chuck AI in the mix because it's been exciting to see where the industry is going, where it is at the moment and going, and more importantly, how we can incorporate AI and other technologies into what we're currently doing, and more importantly, where we're going. Um, I guess if I was to introduce myself from a corporate sense, I am a technologist, but more importantly, I'm a technologist that understands business value and how to help, people deliver that business value. So yeah, excited for this session, and thank you again, Raj.
Great, great, great. Good to know. Perhaps one thing that I'm curious, probably it's a good place to start is so your work that you are currently doing around DevOps and what kind of stuff are you doing as part of as one of the key persons in Morph IT?
Yeah, sure. I work with a lot of clients in terms of how they're handling their data at the moment, and where and what they want to do with that data, and to give some examples of some of the data engineering type things that I have done is around helping clients acquire data within their SQL Server, Postgres, DB2, and Oracle systems. And some of that data engineering might be actually putting it into an enterprise data warehouse, and that might be on premises. But one of the more exciting ways, no offense to on-premises systems, is, acquiring that data, transforming it possibly, and, pushing it up into the cloud where, we can realize some of the benefits of the cloud platform, say, in terms of Microsoft Fabric, back in it's still the thing, Synapse, Power BI, and all those great things, because the power of the cloud is, being able to spin up our resources, consume what we need to, and then throw it away. We don't have to have legacy big iron sitting in a data center somewhere. And sorry, Raj, I have to at least say the word DevOps. The power where cloud and DevOps comes into play is we can codify how we spin up our cloud resources, spin them up, consume the data, produce information and all those good things, and then shut it down. We don't need it running all the time, and so it's been really exciting to work with clients over probably the past year and a half. There's been sort of a step change in people realizing that if you do it correctly, the cloud is a massive enabler, right? So using the Azure platform and doing it right, there's no way you can do it as cost efficient on premises. So
Okay.
that's been awesome
That's
to do. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And yeah, and my experience as well has been on the similar lines. What I'm curious about is, that Microsoft Fabric, the latest and the new offering around analytics and
Mm.
platform of sorts, that is flashy. It has had a lot of interest among the customers, from what I see. And how do you see, what kind of an impact does it have on DevOps and the kind of stuff that you're doing?
For me, I'm going to use a word. The word is consolidation, and part of the ecosystem that Fabric is actually bringing together some wonderful technologies that we're kind of disparate, and I hope
Hmm.
Microsoft doesn't get too angry at me for saying that. In my opinion, they were quite siloed, and we had to
Hmm.
do a different approach for each of them in
Hmm.
terms of deployment, and more importantly, management of them. And so having that brought together under Microsoft Fabric, a nice I almost want to say enclosed, but a nice ecosystem
Yep.
makes, from my perspective, I know how to deploy the various systems underneath.
Hmm.
And again, it's sort of consolidating it and bringing it all together. So I think it's really exciting because it enables the people at Microsoft. They're now going to work, and forgive me, this is a very broad generalization, but it enables them to work under one code base, one platform or
Hmm.
ecosystem, right? You don't have this one over here, this one over here, this one over here. Whereas, bringing it all under the Fabric umbrella means that we now have a true unified method of taking our data and, doing advanced analytics on it. I'm really excited. It's early days, and the days are gonna get way more brilliant.
Yep, 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 yep. I
Yeah.
could see the excitement, and yeah, I could see the excitement in your hat too as well. Yeah, so in your hat.
Of course, of course.
Okay, okay. One other thing that's really exciting is the OpenAI and the generative
Mhm.
AI, and it's the way it has taken the world by storm, right? So and for sure, it also has certain impact in the way in which the developers work, for the good and for
Mhm.
the bad and all that. So what's your opinion around it? Is AI a threat to developers, or does it have a positive impact? What do you think?
Yeah, cool. It's an interesting one because, to be honest, my good friend, people asked me back in 2012 up to 2015 when I was touting that we should automate everything, and people said to me, "Are you not scared that you'll lose your job?" And I said, "No." And they'll be like, "But you're automating all this stuff." And I said, "Well, the key thing is I'm going to be the person in charge of automation, you
Hmm.
know?" And let's fast forward 12 years later, automation is not where I want it to be. I want it to do so much more. But the cool thing is, in the past 5 years, embracing the some of the tenets of artificial intelligence or AI, we're now actually undergoing what I want to coin DevOps 2.0, right? And so a lot of the automation, people are getting there, but they need to be here. How do they get there? Well, funnily enough, things like Copilot and OpenAI, and it's awesome. There's Azure, there's OpenAI in Azure. So the good thing about that is if you're spinning up Azure OpenAI, you now have the ability to keep what you're interfacing with AI, sorry, OpenAI. You can actually have that in a closed ecosystem, whereas back when you were using OpenAI public APIs, then the big thing from management was no confidential, no personal identifiable information. Well, we've got past that. So automation was once considered a threat to myself as an operations person. Now people think that AI is a threat for developers. Heck no.
Yep.
No way, no way. I mean, I look at GitHub Copilot, right? And it's actually designed to not replace developers, but to actually augment developers, right? So the reason why I use the word augment is because it will sit there quietly in the background. It will suggest code snippet, and it will help us debug our code faster. And basically, I see Copilot being exactly what it's called. Consider
Okay.
myself the captain of the airplane, right? I've got my hands on the steering wheel, or whatever they call it in a plane. I don't know. I'm driving the plane and I've got to focus on this stuff, right? Who's taking care of all the other tasks? And no offense to co-pilots, but the tasks that are 100% necessary, but I'm flying through the turbulence, right? And I'm getting there as the captain of the plane. The co-pilot is there to augment, to facilitate me, to help my job be more effective. Because I can't do the job of the co-pilot. Co-pilot's talking to air traffic control. They're looking at weather stuff. They're seeing which, waypoint the plane's going to go to. And I'm literally there in charge of all this stuff, right? I'm in charge of the important things. And
Yep.
so Copilot and AI is there to help me. It's not there to replace me. So it's not a threat. 100% it's not a threat. What it
Okay.
is an enabler. And why I say that, you know, I write in Bash, I write in Terraform, I write in Ansible, I write in PowerShell, right? And often one of the hardest things I have to do is not actually write the actual code, because that's when I get all creative. It's like, okay, how do I structure this? What are the things I need? Whereas using Copilot, say in Visual Studio Code, 2 tabs, and suddenly I have my function. I know what I need to input into it. And more importantly, using things like OpenAI, I'll say, I'll give you an example. I had to work on a project where we were using Pulumi to provision infrastructure. And the reason why we were using Pulumi was because Pulumi allows me to write in C# and a whole heap of other languages to provision infrastructure. Guess what? I'm not a very good C# developer. So I used OpenAI and I asked, how would I spin up a storage bucket in Azure, right? And it gave me enough that I could take that and then expand it and put all the goodness. So I feel that Chat GPT, OpenAI, Copilot, especially Copilot, they're tools within my tool belt, right? It's there to make me more efficient. And to be honest, it's going to teach me stuff. The first time I ever started to use Pulumi with C#, I was like, oh my goodness, I've just learned another language
Yep. Yep.
on the
Yep.
fly.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not a
Yep.
threat,
Yep.
my friend.
Yep. Yep. Very, very interesting points that you have brought up. On what I sort of found was, you mentioned that while these are uh, while Copilot gives you all these info, but you are the captain, or you are the actual pilot
Yeah.
driving the flight, right? Flying the flight. That's a very interesting point. What out of curiosity, what I would want to ask is, what is your guidance to the developers, how they can adapt, or how they can be a lot more productive? Just when automation came, so people like you actually adapted it, embraced it, and got a lot more efficient and variable. What would be your advice for some budding developers in the era of AI?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Look, and I probably need to, own up. I'm not a developer.
Mm,
I can write code. I come from a very purist operations background, but early on in my career, I realized that developers are some of the most creative, wonderful people
mm,
I've ever met. And so I'm developer like. I'm definitely not developer.
mm,
And so my answers are based upon two things. One, my own personal experience, but more importantly, for the context of the question, what when I've worked with development teams. So I work really well with development teams. I'm just not a true
mm,
developer. What I would say to people is if you're going to look at embracing or even like infusing, AI into your practices, whether they're DevOps, or even a DBA, right? Because
mm,
AI is there for
mm,
everyone. You can use AI to say, hey, tell me the best code to write in T-SQL for blah,
mm,
blah, 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 and it will give it to you. However, you still need to look at it. So my advice is to look at what's hurting. And the reason why I will say that is because when I first became a DevOps practitioner, I always looked at what was hurting people in terms of delivering business value.
mm,
Notice I didn't say software.
mm.
And so
Yeah, that.
for any, yeah, because no matter what I do, no matter what you do, or what anyone on those watching this, we love the ones and zeros. We love our rows, our columns, our indexes, our queries. But at the end of the day, we're delivering business value to someone somewhere. So what is hurting? What are the pain points? Identify those. And often those might be repetitive, time consuming tasks, right? Or manual tasks. From a DevOps perspective, someone who is doing release management, we might have a whole heap of, manual tasks that we've got to do. Well, we might be able to automate those and we might be able to use AI in terms of some of the functionality, right? And first of all, what's the most important thing anyone should be doing? Well, any developer should be thinking about the runtime of their app. And when we consider the runtime of an app, the absolute mandatory thing that we have to do is diagnostic logging.
Mm,
No one likes diagnostic logging. The reason being, it's noisy. Well,
mm,
guess what? There are a whole heap of tools. In fact, the absolute foundation of the Azure platform is based on machine learning and
mm,
AI to bubble all of that, get rid of the noise and bubble up the data and produce me with information that can allow me to do data-driven decisions,
yeah.
right? And so identify where your pain points are. And more importantly, for your monitoring and logging, incorporate a form of AI, and it may already be there, right? You don't have to
Mm,
reinvent the wheel. There are, application insights and application insights, and some of the behind the scenes stuff in Azure. 100% already uses this, and
yep.
yeah. So once you've identified your pain points, start integrating some of this into your deployment pipelines. And part of that, it's awesome. You can use um, things like Copilot to analyze both the code while you're writing it, when you commit it through your build process, and then,
Mhm.
of course, as we move on to release management. So
Nice.
for me, you know, there's no better time to start
Yep.
incorporating or infusing it. And it literally starts at your laptop.
Hmm.
You know, Copilot extensions into VS Code or Visual Studio, you know, it's there, and it's there to make your job way, way better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Very interesting. Yes, one of the things is it makes the developer's job a lot more interesting, right? They get to focus on
Yes.
a lot more things that are meaningful, that are going to add more business value, and so on, which is beautiful. And yeah, nice that you brought application insights and the diagnostics
Mm.
piece of things.
Oh,
You have the thing called AI ops, where
yeah.
where you can do all of these is to detect anomalies and so on. While we touch that, I just wanted to ask you. You also mentioned about AI actually helps in deployments and releases and any particular feature. What would be your more favorite one, if you may want to pick any one?
Do you mean in terms of incorporating sort of AI processes
Mm,
in with, say, my
Yes,
day-to-day
yes,
activity?
yes, yes.
Well, funnily enough, and sorry, this is a humble brag. I've actually contributed to a local university here in Christchurch, New Zealand. On this, they said, "Hey, we're writing this book. Could we interview you and do a chapter on how we sort of, you know, you're." They said to me that I'm a seasoned practitioner, which
Yeah.
made me feel the oldest I've ever felt in my life. um, but look, let me put it this way. I'm going to give you an example of where I'm a big fan of Copilot. An absolute big fan. And my first interaction with it was literally using GitHub Copilot, using the VS Code extensions. And for me, it was a game changer in terms of 10% to 50, let's go 15%. 15% of my time would normally be spent on structuring the layout of my code, right? Like knowing which parts need to talk to which parts. I would then spend the next, I don't know, 60% actually writing code. And then, as a very good DevOps practitioner, I would spend time writing unit tests,
Mhm.
you know, and that's probably 20%. I hope that adds up to 100%.
Mm,
Somewhere on the internet,
mm.
someone is calculating that and going, it's only 95%, Hamish. I'm like, yeah, 5% is just sitting back,
Yeah,
relaxing, and
yeah,
enjoying
coffee
what
time.
I've done. Here's the deal, the 15% at the beginning, I can use Copilot for that. Now,
Awesome.
I will still write some of the code. I will still write the code. I will still think about what systems I need to integrate. What is the business logic, da
Mm,
da 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 da. But now we come to the best part. And this is why this is one area where I'm trying to get data professionals on board with testing. Too often, people are not testing their data.
mm.
And I tell you what, brother, 2024 is my year of the test, the data. Because now we have no excuse, because you can use Copilot and say, write me a unit test for the SQL code. And it,
Awesome.
boom, does it. What?
That's
And I tell
fantastic.
you, man,
Yeah.
I am traveling. I'm on a, I am just going to travel the world. I'm in Germany in May.
Hmm.
I'm in Seattle in March for MVP Summit, but I'm running a free event in Seattle
Right.
for invited members only, because I want to harness the power of AI to write my unit test, to write my integration test, to do my performance tests. It's now, bro. Like, there is no excuse. And more
Awesome.
importantly, to write the code is free. because that's the power of AI. It's going to look at the code that I wrote and, the beautiful code. It's not beautiful, but it works. It will take my code and introduce all the unit tests.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
People talk about AI and I want to talk about testing because the two are linked and we are going to make stuff go
Go.
with AI and integration testing this year. You watch. It's going to be wonderful.
Yep.
I'm sorry for
It
getting real passionate there, but
yeah, and I understood that AI not just make stuff go, it can also make Hamish go up and down, so it really lights him up. Yep. So
yeah.
yeah. Nice to see the good old passion, Hamish. Yeah, it's nice. It's wonderful that we are having this conversation and we are recording this, and it
It
will be out
is.
on YouTube for everyone to see your passionate Hamish once again. Yeah. So and uh, and just to on the final question,
Yeah, sure.
as part of this conversation, one thing that excited me, by the way, I work across the data and analytics piece in Microsoft. So one thing that excited me was the Power BI Git integration. That is something that has not been there for a while. It has always been a pain for customers to manage that. Your thoughts? What are your thoughts looking at it?
I, I feel I feel like this is like what's the word? Like a trigger question. And I mean that respectfully. Um I'll tell you a quick story and then I'll answer the question. So just to recap, the question is around sort of integrating Git with Power BI.
Mm.
I'm a data platform MVP. I
Mm-hmm.
love databases. I especially love the power of SQL Server on premises and am amazed by what we can do up in Azure. There is one area that I am not so good at is Power BI, and the only reason I'm not good at using Power BI or generating
Mm.
things with Power BI is I'm colorblind. And so I cannot create, these wonderful graphs and charts and whatever. But I tell you what I can do is architect Power BI. So
Mm.
I leave all the wonderful UI and UX stuff to the people who love colors. More importantly, I deal with how to connect, Power BI gateway onto on-prem and get stuff going. And I even do Power BI licensing just to, do all that stuff. And I tell you what, when the Git integration for Power BI came along, I'm like, hooray! I can finally do something in the Power BI space. And so for me, and the reason why I laugh is for years I spent so much time and effort to convince DBAs why they should embrace source control, right? And so,
Mm.
and that's Git integration. And and I I I had some wins over the years, and I could finally convince, true blue DBAs who are like, "What does this mean for me? I don't care about any of this," and showing them the benefits of what
Mm-hmm.
integrating with source control, and in this case, Git or GitHub, depending, was. And so I love the fact that you asked this question because it's this has made me smile. Look, I'm going to go, I'm going to answer from a very sort of foundational
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
perspective. And look, one of the key things about putting anything into GitHub or any other Git-like repository, it might be Bitbucket, it might
Mm-hmm.
be, your own GitHub enterprise, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it on premises. whatever your source control system is, I don't care, right? What I do care about is integration with a source control system. And the cool thing is we can track our changes, right? So often when I dealt with DBAs, or in this case with Power BI developers, who made the change or what changed, and not being able to track that, or not having an audited flow of change. And the cool thing is, if we need to revert back, right? So if you've written your PBX, right, report or whatever, and you've saved it on your computer, and then you've gone on holiday, and we're like, oh, it doesn't work. We'll just revert back. Oh, wait, where's the code? Oh, it's on Raj's laptop. Raj is visiting Hamish in Christchurch, having a wonderful time in Christchurch, New Zealand. If we've got that in source control, we can actually make some informed decisions and actually revert the code back if we have to. Hopefully we don't, but we can. And that actually leads into the next key point, which is actually around collaboration. And why I say collaboration is because I wrote the Power BI stuff, right? I've committed it to source control, but to merge it into the release pipeline, I have to get my good friend Nagaraj to come along and peer review it. And a key word here is peer. What I mean by that is it's a collaborative, no blame review. You come along, you look at my code, you're like, oh, okay, you're doing this. Could you explain a bit more on this? What you do not ever do in terms of a pull review request or a peer review is go, your code's bad. Never, ever, ever, ever. Please, anyone that's listening to this or watching this, rather, don't ever do that. That's not kind. The whole point of a peer review is two friends looking at something and deciding what is the best thing there. And you may come along and say, actually, Hamish, what you've done here, there's actually a more efficient way of doing this. And I'll go, oh, thank you so much. Suddenly, I've learned a better way of doing it. And more importantly, the business is not at risk in terms of delivery of value that the Power BI reports and stuff will do. It's a win-win, right? And so that collaboration that's key for me. And it's one way that I can sell different facets of our technology stack, DBAs, infrastructure people, or Power BI developers in the sense of embracing source control or Git type repositories. Yeah. Also, last one, I knew there was one more. By finally joining the unicorn party, we can take Power BI reports that you have written and deploy them. And we can deploy them via CI/CD like we're doing everything else. Infrastructure deployed via CI/CD, DevOps pipeline, right? And developers are deploying their apps via CI/CD. Suddenly, we're now all speaking the same language. Now, I bet there's someone on the internet right now going, but wait a second. You've said all the good things. Surely there's something wrong. Yeah, there is. Okay, so when I write a bicep file to deploy my resources in Azure, it's just a text file. It's really easy, right? The text file of some YAML code, blah, 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 whatever. PBX files, which represent our Power BI reports, they are binary files, right? They're not text files. And so there is a consideration that they are going to be larger, right? In terms of that. And also, it's going to complicate mergers and also if we have conflicts. But that's okay. There's ways and means around that. And I guess the other thing is people would say to me, Hamish, remember, Git has a learning curve. And it
Mm,
does.
mm,
But there's literally six six commands you have to learn. And the cool thing is, I talked about collaboration. There will be. I learned all of my source control knowledge of application developers. Those people know source control systems like I know databases. And
yep,
guess what? Now's the time for us both to learn off each other.
yep,
And
yep,
so, you know,
yep,
it's not,
yep,
there is a learning curve, but it's not that big.
yep, 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 yep. Couple of things. One thing is you spoke about the PBX file size, right? So, as
Mm.
the coolest thing is it synchronizes the metadata. So only when you do the first refresh, when it goes into the workspace, then
Yes.
only the data moves. So it's through the cloud and not from your machine to. So which is a huge win when you integrate. Which is and yeah. Second thing is of course as you rightly said, now we both can work together, right? So
Yeah.
Power BI is loves Hamish so much that it is giving him the space, you know, to get all his make stuff go concepts right inside it, and
100%.
yeah, absolutely. So yes. So
Yeah.
it is wonderful that you have brought all these things, and I'm pretty sure it is very useful for all the people who are listening. And yeah, before we close, Hamish, any final thoughts, anything that you would like to say to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I guess, in my opinion, um, years ago, automation was daunting. And DevOps was something that people didn't understand really what it was. And it is truly people like myself and a whole heap of others. We're actually here to help you along that journey from a community perspective. We blog, we do sessions like this. These are all free. Um, the landscape is about to change, and sorry, it's changing right now. But don't be worried about it. What you need to do is embrace it and take the positive aspects out of it. Look at the Industrial Revolution. Everyone thought that everyone was going to be replaced by machines. That didn't happen. What happened was we went on higher value activities
Mm,
and getting things like automation and AI to do those what I call toil, right? Those manual repetitive things. Getting those to look after that stuff means that you can now focus on higher value activities. You can go and tune your database systems. You can go and integrate things with like Fabric, with Power BI. You can actually move yourself up a level because now you've got a co-pilot or just a really nice peer in terms of that technology being able to do those things. So look, it is daunting. It's
mm,
both exciting and a little scary, but I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. And don't listen to the hype of media. Media just love to, sensationalize, all the bad aspects. It's not going to happen, right? AI is not here to kill us and replace us.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's
Unless it's a
it's
Hollywood movie, right? So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a Hollywood movie, 100%, because that makes a good story for, an hour and a half. Well, we're not here for an hour and a half. We're here for the next, 5 to 10 years making brilliance happen. So my advice is investigate, look, and more importantly, use AI tools that are out there.
Awesome, absolutely. Thanks a lot for all the insights, Hamish, and viewers. I will put Hamish, social handles. You follow him. He speaks at different conferences across the globe, year around. So yeah, follow him and follow his blog and rest of rest of his work, and I'm pretty sure you'll learn a lot. Yeah. So thank you once again, Hamish. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you again.
Thanks. Thanks.